So it looks like as of right now, the two senators that are Republicans that have committed to not voting until the election are Susan Collins in Maine and then Murkowski in Alaska. Is that right?
Yeah, as far as I believe, I know yesterday it was just Susan Collins, I think, who came out.
I think her name's Lisa. It's Murkowski is her last name. The
in
senator
Alaska.
from Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah. She came out and also said, and I think it's because these two ladies are fucking scorned by the Kavanaugh appointee. And even though Trump has, said that he's going to, and I do believe that he's going to appoint a woman to be the replacement. I think on the last episode, we'd been speculating based off of a list of like fucking horror show appointees that he considered like Tom Cotton and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, but it looks like he's since I don't want to say thankfully, but he's moved in a different direction at least.
Yeah.
In the like absolute like worst unimaginable.
Indeed. It kind of seems like that was like maybe just posturing or something, and that he was just kind of trying to appease his base of like people that like Ted Cruz or whatever. But yeah, according to this New York Times piece, at least, which I can pull up, the leading contenders do not include those aforementioned characters of Hawley or
I think it's pretty much down to Amy Coney Barrett and that Barbara Lagoa. She's from Miami, I believe.
It looks like Amy Coney Barrett is the top choice, and of course the fact that she's a woman will be used to try to pacify any.
Trump also appointed her to I think it was the like 7th Circuit Appeals Court. In 2017. So I think that's what it says actually right here. Confirmation here in 2017. So,
she has a pretty long history of judicial practice, I believe, even going back to like the Clinton administration, I want to say.
Yeah, and I know that he's looking now at Barbara Lagoa, who I don't think the New York Times mentioned in this piece, but she was nominated to the Florida Supreme Court by DeSantis. Oh yeah, here she is. Yeah, and
interesting.
So she's basically like a Cuban American conservative from Florida. He was appointed initially by Jeb Bush, for the like circuit court in Florida by Jeb Bush, and then appointed to the Florida Supreme Court by DeSantis. And I think what's interesting about Amy Coney Barrett is that she, I couldn't find any like public statements about Roe, which is essentially what the battle is happening here. Is people want to know what these potential judicial nominees, how they view Roe v. Wade. Amy Coney Barrett is on the record saying that Roe is not about like the right to choose, but it's the right about the funding, whether that's going to come private or public, which I think is so interesting and so revealing of the Republican Party, because essentially she's not worried about abortions happening. She's worried about poor women getting abortions.
Yeah, true. And I mean, ultimately that is the crux of the issue for a lot of conservatives. It's like it's not necessarily that they think abortion should be banned outright and criminalized, but it's just they don't necessarily want their tax dollars going towards it, which is, I mean, I guess it's understandable if you view abortion as a moral issue, but I mean, the rest of us have to pay towards war and all these horrible things that our tax dollars go to anyway. So it's just like, I mean, I don't like.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also predicated on a lot of issues that shouldn't be crossed from separation of church and state. Like it's almost impossible to craft a moral. I mean, it is. I feel like impossible to craft a moral argument against abortion without bringing some sort of religious text into it. I feel like that's almost always where the conversation goes when you try and have a serious debate with somebody. And obviously, this is a women's issue anyway.
Yes.
So to have a Supreme Court with 2 women. Out of 9 justices that are going to be deciding the fate for women across our nation. Like, I think we would be remiss to not point out, how wrong that is and how,
Absolutely.
Once again, this will be a complete lack of justice coming from our Supreme Court, which is supposed to be the highest form of justice.
And it just goes to a point, really drives home something that I was saying yesterday on Twitter, which was that, we should just straight up abolish the Supreme Court. This is bullshit.
It's one of those things where everybody would be like, what? Like, why? That's the
one
like,
oh, yeah.
That's the one thing we're supposed to have. But it's like, wait, it's totally corrupt.
Yeah.
They've made some of the most like unconscionable decisions.
Yeah. any notion of the Supreme Court being supreme in any sense of objectivity or neutrality is long gone. People understand that Supreme Court justices, just like congressmen and senators,
we're
are bought
having
and paid
this whole
for.
argument because we know that the Supreme Court isn't apartisan.
Exactly, yeah. And since the Kavanaugh hearing, people, when he clearly wasn't acting in a judicial manner during his questioning, it's so obvious that there's no actual standard of objectivity, or it's just another partisan extension of the partisan war between the Democrats and Republicans, which is, not waged on economic fronts necessarily. They both agree about cutting taxes for billionaires and all that, but it is waged on issues like abortion and stuff like that, where there are, disagreements and where it actually could end up affecting people's lives negatively. And yeah, as you said, only 2 women on the Supreme Court, now only 1, but hopefully, if RBG is replaced under Trump, at least hopefully it's a woman, I guess, although it's
right. Yeah, exactly. We're in a position where, maybe, obviously Trump's a fucking liar, so it's not like we can take his tweets where he says that he's going to pick a woman seriously. I think that it would be politically smart calculus for the Republicans to nominate a woman, because it's going to be harder for the Democrats to go to their favorite.
And it'll make it easier for Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins to go along with them and bite the bullet, because they can say, well, I'm making history by voting for the first Cuban American judge and all this shit. And it'll kind of obscure the real.
And because the Democratic Party is so used to leaning into that identitarian aspect of it, the fact that this Hispanic appointee could potentially be thwarting the opportunity for lots of low-income minority women to, maintain their own autonomy and sovereignty over their own bodies and not have a fucking fetus grow inside them if they don't fucking want it there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I am glad to see that, Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton and stuff aren't on this list, because that was just almost.
Oh, dude, it made me want to fucking throw up. And it's crazy. To something that you briefly touched on, Ted Cruz is an extremely popular element of the Republican base. He has a really popular podcast.
I know.
Does have a weird following of people who are really into Ted Cruz, and it's the silent Mike Pence part of the Trump base that I think really is into his fucking crazy shit. But anyway, that's a conversation for another
the Mike
day.
Pence, Ted Cruz theocratic branch of the Republican Party.
That could be a ticket.
I know, dude. They're
Pence,
both hard
Cruz,
line.
2024.
I don't know
that
who
would be
I feel like neither one of them would want to take the second place, though. I feel like they both really want to be president.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'm just saying that could be the kind of thing, that the curveball that they come in to kind of thwart. To kind of I don't know. Basically, I just feel like if they're going to keep any element of the Trump thing alive with because I don't know, it'll just kind of depend on how the Republican Party moves forward after Trump. If Trump loses,
I was kind of thinking we might see something like a Tucker Carlson, Ivanka Trump ticket or something.
Yeah, it could go that way, but it could also go into where they're trying to kind of return respectability to the Republican Party while also still courting the Trump vote. And I feel like one way that they could do that would be by bringing Mike Pence on.
And Mike Pence is no Trump, though. He's so fucking bland and boring.
Dude, that's why I think he would have to be VP again. I think they would have to just tell him, hey, dude, you're not president. You're not going to be the president.
You can keep being the vice president.
You can keep being the vice president until you fucking die, dude, but you're never going to be the guy. I don't know. And maybe that's what it is.